and they're closely associated with the so-called military-industrial complex. But do you really think that they're going to let the current system come tumbling down? They may even be nastier, and opposed to bringing in something that many of us could accept, which would be a free market system based on a gold standard, they might have something much nastier in mind, similar to Nazi Germany. Any thoughts about that?
Yeah, and I've spoken about it a few times. I'm not in the know of what's going on behind the scenes in that area. I defer to people like Ben Fulford on the more conspiratorial side, who has contacts within the CIA and all that. And it does seem that the iron grip that the bad guys had on all the military divisions of the United States has been pried away, and there's only a few people still holding on, but they see the end coming, because the world is waking up to what has been going on for these last 100 years or so. So I do see, I see both sides wanting to crash the system, though, and the question is going to become, what's going to happen after the crash? Can we pick up our trousers and say, hey, we don't want any more bad guy bankers controlling our lives. Go away. We are going back to our Constitution. Ron Paul, who's gaining in the polls already, and I've long said that the good guys are going to put Ron Paul as our next president. Ron Paul is ready and able and has the perfect concept to restart our system after the crash. So his election is going to be part of the timing of all this chaos. So expect massive chaos between now and, say, right before the GOP nomination becomes official, because the more chaos and more banking crashes there are, and if hyperinflation kicks in, you're going to see Ron Paul, the only one up on that stage, saying, I told you so, and here's the fix. So they are being taken out, but a lot of that's behind the scenes, and I don't have contacts or good vision on what happens, other than the things I hear from the white hats and from Ben Fulford and people like that.
Okay, well, you never know how things are going to shape up, do we? Here's something that's a little bit different, and let's kind of get into the root of what it is that's going on at Road to Ruta, especially in regard to the players, Bix. Have you reassessed your perceived role about any of the key players, good guys that have turned out to be bad guys, and inversely bad guys that are now turning out to be good guys?
I haven't. And as a matter of fact, the longer this goes on, the more apparent it becomes that the good guys are good guys and the bad guys are bad guys. For example, for years people were saying Paul Volcker was a bad guy because he ran the Fed and he worked for the Rothschilds but the information I've analyzed and the things, and this is before the Volcker rule was even mentioned, I identified him as a good guy long before that, and it came out all of a sudden that the banks hate him. They know this Volcker rule will destroy the market manipulation that they have their clutches in. So that just recently we had Nancy Pelosi and Barney Frank coming out attacking Newt Gingrich as he was climbing the polls. If you think about it strategically, if you're a Democrat, you would want to run against Newt. He epitomizes the worst in Washington. He's got more dirt in his closet than you can even imagine, and dead skeletons, and you name it. That guy is knee deep in the bad guy stuff. But Pelosi and Frank came out very early, right away, and said, I'm gonna open the door and tell everybody your dirty secrets. If they really wanted to win the election, they would have done that after he was put in as the Republican candidate. They wouldn't come out right now, because all that did is, and all that's doing, is helping Ron Paul. So the good guys and on the Democratic side are even coming out to assist in this Ron Paul for president type of setup.
Okay. That's really nice. You actually kind of covered some of our next question there, Bix, which was, can you name some of the good guys and some of the bad guys? Are there any others that you'd care to toss out there for us? Bad guys in particular, so that we can focus our ire?
Well, the bad guys are, it's all the normal ones you hear about, the Rothschilds and the Bushes and the Clintons, and Obama's controlled by the bad guys, and Brzezinski and all those guys. The good guys, from the Road to Ruta analysis, you've got Greenspan, you've got Ron Paul, Nancy Pelosi, Barney Frank, Paul Volcker, Michael Mukasey, Ronald Reagan, Arthur Burns, the old Fed chairman. And then there's the more obscure guys who are directly from my original analysis, a guy named Stephen Duveau, who was put in charge of the computer programs very early on in the 70s, and Harold J. Sullivan, who was a guy who wrote Civil Rights and Liberties, and there's an Assistant Attorney General award called the Harold J. Sullivan Award, and all these guys are way in the background. And then George Goodwin Jr., who wrote this book called Little Legislatures, about the power and autonomy of subcommittees in Congress, because all this stuff on the Road to Ruta, the stuff I talk about, had to be done in secret. Otherwise, the bad guys would have taken them out. Like they took out Kennedy. They tried to kill Reagan as soon as he got elected. So it all had to be done in secret. But now that they're out in the open, and this whole Road to Ruta game is being understood and being accepted even. A few years back, I was considered a crazy gold bug who's lost his rocker, even by my friends at GATA, but now they're all coming around saying, oh my God, this is what really happened. This is where we are, and this is what's going to happen.
Oh my goodness. So you're actually the wizard behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. Or at least maybe you're Dorothy asking the question.
I would say I'm Toto when Toto went and pulled the curtain back.
I like it. I like it. We are speaking with Bix Weir. You can help to support him by visiting his website at roadtoruta.com. May the road you choose be the right road. Our next topic area will directly address gold and silver. And on this subject, the first question will be from forum member RTG and will be asked by Nad. Nad?
Yes. Hello, Bix. It's really nice to talk to you. I know you've been very busy and appreciate your taking this time with us. While there has been increasing talk that the race is on among central bankers to get their hands on the last remaining available supplies of gold bullion, I don't think you ever know it from the way gold is trading. Do you have any thoughts on when gold once again starts to trade with the traditional safe haven status that it usually exhibits?
Well, again, gold and silver are traded and controlled on computer programs, but to the whole concept of gold as a safe haven is interesting, because prior to 1971, gold was used as money. So if you called money a safe haven, I can get my head around that. Gold has always been the go-to money when all these attempts at fiat money fail. But as a safe haven status, it's more theoretical, because since the early 70s, when gold has been rigged by computer, it's usually in times of turmoil that gold is suppressed the hardest. So it really hasn't been a safe haven in a traditional sense. It's more theoretical. It has always been the safe haven when unbacked fiat money collapses. So it will be a safe haven at the end, but until we get there, the bankers will control the price. And as long as you own physical metal, gold and silver, and it's outside of their reach, meaning you store your own gold and silver within your own, understanding of where you have it, whether it's at. I tell people not to store it in a safe deposit box, because the bankers have the key to that. So take a lot of time to figure out where you want to store it, but keep it out of their clutches. We're seeing that right now with the MF Global bankruptcy, HSBC has sued MF Global because apparently some of the gold and silver that they were holding in the GLD ETF has 8 claims on it by other people. That's something that we talked about all along, but now it's physically being proven with this bankruptcy. So, gold is a philosophical safe haven, but on a day-to-day trading basis, they still control the price. And if war breaks out, I'm sure they'll slam gold again.
Oh, okay, thank you. But now, okay, I have another question here from RTG. And it's what we've gone over before, the fraud and deception in the silver market is not likely to end until the physical offtake is so great that the bullion banks give up for fear of actually losing their physical, which we know they cherish. Okay, Silver Eagle sales have grown to the point where they now almost equal U.S. mine output. Eric Sprott seems to be threatening to clean out the COMEX warehouse. And do you see this as part of an end game, and do you have any likely timing scenarios?
I think the timing is always difficult, and the timing of the end of silver manipulation will most likely if silver manipulation ended tomorrow, then the entire global monetary complex would implode tomorrow. There might be an implosion of Europe, and then silver takes off. It all depends on when derivative silver is banned, and that's silver at the COMEX and the LME. Those are all fake derivative complex derivatives trading back and forth. There's 100 billion ounces of silver, paper silver, that will trade on the COMEX this year. 100 billion ounces of paper silver. That is what creates a price on that market. It's got nothing to do with the 30 or 40 million ounces that are in inventory. It's the 100 billion ounces that trade on paper back and forth with computers from bank to bank to set the price. As far as Silver Eagles, there's a very interesting misunderstanding about gold and Silver Eagles. According to law, Silver Eagles have to be minted in the quantity demanded. Now, it's different with gold. Gold has to be sourced from U.S. mines, so they have to sell gold Eagles up until the amount mined in the U.S. in gold. But with Eagles, it's different. They changed that law so it will give the good guys a chance to destroy the bad guys with just buying Silver Eagles. There is no limitation on the amount of Silver Eagles that you can buy and they have to give you. Now, of course, the more you buy, the more they make. They might have slowdowns in production, but if you go in there and say, I want 1 billion ounces of silver, they are required by law to sell you 1 billion ounces of silver. That is the law. Do they uphold the law? No, they don't. They claim there's all sorts of technological problems and we have to expand our production. But if they stuck to the law, which they are required to do, theoretically, they have to mint as many as are demanded. And that's not constricted by the amount of silver mined in the U.S. That is a global supply for minting Silver Eagles. So Silver Eagles, if Eric Sprott went in and started a Silver Eagle fund where he put a couple $100 million into purchasing Eagles, he would be assured of getting his Eagles, not like his past fund that they took 3 months to get him the medal. So it's interesting. The Silver Eagle angle, the good guys have set it up such that legally in the United States, no matter what the price is, the U.S. Mint has to sell Silver Eagles in the quantity demanded.
That's interesting. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Yeah, it really is. Be very interested to find out where they're going to get all that additional silver, maybe from Mexico and some other places around the world. That's a question that'll have to.
I think it's a question of it's not a question of the quantity of metal available. It's a question of price.